Praise Radio KPRD. It's Dave and Chandler hanging out with you. And Dave, we're back.
Back on the Unknown Show. Took a couple weeks off.
I know. I didn't realize that. When we came in, I was like, wow, it has been like 2-3 weeks. I was like, where do we start?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy over the summer. Schedules kind of get thrown out of the whack and whatnot. But you had a fun time was it a week ago or?
Yeah. What is it? It's Saturday, right?
It is Saturday.
Yeah. I got the experience to go to the Ark Encounter in Kentucky, and it was awesome. The experience.
Yeah.
And putting historical perspective with the Bible. It was just really cool to see all that line up. And it just, people who question the Bible, it makes you go, what are you questioning for? Don't do this. It's truthful, guys. What are you doing?
I like that.
I mean, just a lot of good information. And Ken Ham, who is the CEO, actually, of Answers in Genesis, who runs the Ark Encounter, and I wonder who came up with that idea. I want to be in that meeting, Let's build an ark.
Let's build an ark.
Yeah, but I got a chance to meet Ken Ham. It was really amazing to meet him and hear some words from him. I don't know his background. I know he does a lot with history, and I mean, this guy just knows his stuff, and it was just really cool to hear his perspective on everything, because the cool part is you hear from scientists who have the world perspective and the biblical perspective, but the scientists who know both perspectives, and they're like, yeah, the world perspective doesn't line up. The biblical perspective does.
Yeah.
And it makes you go, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was an amazing experience. And Dave, I know you and I have talked a little bit about, kind of the drive out there. I know for a lot of people here in Midwest Kansas, wanting to, go to the Ark Encounter in Kentucky. And I will say that drive,
it takes it out of you, huh?
Eternity, drive. It is a long drive.
Yeah, well, we've driven because Alicia's parents live in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So when we go see them with our kids, it's a drive, but it's just a little over half the drive that you're talking about, though. So I can't imagine, because you're going through the entire state of Kansas, pretty much.
Yep.
And then you're going right through Missouri, and that's about a 4-hour drive from Kansas City to St. Louis or so, right?
Yeah.
And then from there, I'm trying to play geography. What's after Missouri? Is that
Illinois.
So you're going through Illinois, and then you get to Kentucky?
Indiana.
And
then Kentucky. See, the funny part is you'll be driving. I feel like the people in the really southern parts of Indiana and Illinois get mad because people confuse which state they're in, because it legitimately takes an hour to drive through Illinois when you're in the real southern parts. So, Kentucky, where the Ark Encounter is, it's right on the Ohio border too. So and sometimes you go in a circle. One time you're in Indiana, then you're in Kentucky, and then you're in Ohio. Yeah, it's like that. It's a circle. So I'm like, I've been in 3 states in like a minute. It was cool. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a really amazing experience. And on the Unknown Show today, we're gonna talk about the experience I had with the Ark Encounter.
Talking about the Ark Encounter, I've heard from so many people that they want to go to this.
Yes.
That they're want to plan their vacation around the Ark Encounter, the Creation Museum there in Kentucky. My family and I would like to go to that someday. So we're looking forward to hearing what your experience was like, Chandler.
Yes. More to come on the Unknown Show on Praise Radio KPRD. It's Dave and Chandler hanging out with you. The Unknown Show. Yes, we're back.
We're back.
We didn't disappear.
Not quite. And we're talking about the Ark today because, Chandler, you got a chance to go visit the Ark Encounter there in Kentucky and the Creation Museum. So, I know inquiring minds want to know, because I haven't been there. I know a lot of our listeners want to go really, really bad.
Yeah.
But they haven't.
Yeah.
How was it? What'd you think?
It was an amazing experience. At first, I'll be honest with you, on the way there, I was thinking, okay, the Ark, walk around, see all the pretty things, the pretty big Ark, and then all this, all these different articles and knowledge. I was like, oh, I'm not supposed to think in the summertime. But it was really cool to see all the different things.
Yeah.
And actually, when you go into the Ark, right when you walk into it, actually, I should post this video on our Facebook page, kind of just the steps going into the Ark. I don't know if Noah actually had a Pepsi machine in his.
But there is one there. Huh?
But there is one there. I made that joke. But It was just really cool to see the different cages for the animals they had.
Yeah.
Because you never think about that when you're reading the Bible. Because in the Bible, it doesn't talk about how the animals were stored in their cages, how they were fed, how they were watered, where they got the water from, how they got rid of waste in the ark. But it was really cool to what they think the technology was like to how Noah did different things.
Huh.
And I was like, wow, this is very interesting. It was just, awesome to see all the different things in that perspective.
Yeah, because you really don't think about, like what, did they all, sleep next to each other? Did they put the lions with the sheep?
How do you do that? Yeah. Yeah, and they, I remember one little kid, he was with his family, and all I remember him saying is, "Mommy, there isn't real animals."
Aww.
He was expecting a giraffe, I think, but he didn't get a giraffe.
No, just the plastic kind.
Yeah, just the plastic giraffes.
Yeah.
But they did have a petting zoo for the kids.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I have a feeling that if there's actually all the animals on the ark, that the new ark wouldn't smell too good, and it would not be the best ark.
You need a few air fresheners for all those.
Yeah,
animals.
a lot of air fresheners. Oh. So, but there's a lot of things to do for both the kids. Lots of little things for them to go and check out and read on, and as well as the adults. So it's a really great experience for both the kids and the whole family.
Yeah, that's really cool. So, what is one thing you learned?
One thing that I learned about the Ark Encounter. Now, Dave, you're putting me on the spot.
I know, right?
Because there's so many different things that I read. I guess just like I said earlier, with all the different things, how Noah did it.
Yeah.
It just makes you go. It just in my head, I'm like, he had not the technology that we have, because they use cranes and everything to build this ark.
Yeah.
And it just makes you go, wow. I mean, we serve an amazing God that Noah could do that. Yeah. I'm like, this takes faith. I'm like, God told me to build an ark. I'd be like, whoa, slow down a second here.
Yeah. Get on the rowboat. I mean, really.
Yeah, put on the rowboat. I don't know about this.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the amount of faith
it
had to take for that. It's just, in my head, it's just crazy.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's an awesome experience. It's hard to explain with words, Dave.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we can go with our family sometime too. But yeah, that's really cool. Well, hey, we're talking about the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum in Kentucky here today on the Unknown Show with Chandler's visit just recently there and trying to grab some of the experience from Chandler here today.
Yes, I'm doing my best.
Yeah, it'd be really Yeah, looking forward to going to that someday.
Yes. We'll be back on the Unknown Show on.
Hey, this is the Unknown Show. Chandler and Dave here with you. Thanks for tuning in as we're talking about Chandler's trip to both the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum in Kentucky. You just had that about a week or two ago, right?
Yes.
And some pretty cool stuff because, man, I've always wanted to go to that with the family, but just haven't yet made that work yet. But man, but you actually got to go, and
yes,
that's just hearing the kind of your story so far from it, and now you talked about the Ark Encounter last time, but you also went to the Creation Museum because that's part of this too, right? I mean, that's there in Kentucky. They're side by side, and
well, actually, not side by side.
Not side by side.
They're actually like an hour apart.
Really?
Yeah.
See, look at that. You learned something new.
Yeah, it's we actually stayed in a town that's in the middle of the two.
Huh.
So, yeah, I thought that was interesting, too. Is the Ark is actually in a town that is not heavily populated. It's a very small town right off the interstate.
And now they're getting all kinds of traffic.
Yeah, they are. And just for the Ark, the town itself, actually surrounding towns are actually growing more than the town itself. So
that's really
it's interesting, like economics.
Yeah. So the Creation Museum, a little about an hour away from the Ark. Tell us about your experience with that.
Well, when you first go to the Creation Museum, for me, honestly, first approach to it, it looks like a very tiny building on the outside, but when you go inside, it's big. You don't even realize it. I was walking through the museum itself because, it's like a museum. You walk through and look at all the different things, and it's like, how do they get all this stuff in here? They have like real life-size dinosaurs. Like, they went all out, man.
That's crazy.
And you're walking through and you're like, how do they get all this stuff in here? It's like, who are your movers? It is just a crazy how much stuff they fit in that building and how much information. I know I went with one of my best friend's family. If we would have been there probably for 3 days if we actually read every little thing, but you just can't, which is the sad part. But
yeah, because there's only so much time, and there's so much information, exhibits and stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, and they also have an actual real life Garden of Eden outside of the Creation Museum, so you can walk through that. That was really cool. You're walking through. We're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. It was beautiful to see all the different plants and God's creation.
That's cool.
It's like, wow, is this what it was like before sin entered the world? And it was beautiful.
That's really cool. So, now, you also talked about, a real cool thing you learned and just the realization of that, right?
Yes. At the Creation Museum itself, there's different speakers there, so you can go and, sit in on these different seminars. They have about an hour apiece. Ken Ham has one, Answers in Genesis he has, where he does a Facebook Live, talks about different real-world things, and you just, get to hear, you could say, professionals' perspectives on it, what they think about it. As I was sitting there, I was like, I can't wait to take this back home to the radio, blah, 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 write things down. But we had a speaker, and what he was talking about really spoke out to me, and it was about the foundations of Christ. The foundations of who we are as Christians and as a church, and where the church is going in the society that we're in.
That's cool.
And, it's mind-blowing stuff, and I was like, wow, it's not supposed to think during the summer, but I guess I am today.
I guess I am today,
Yeah, so, that was just a really amazing experience, and you really learn a lot with those speakers. So if you do have the chance to go to the Ark and the Creation Museum, definitely go hit up any of those speakers that you can. It's really a lot of good information there. That's really a lot of good information at the Creation Museum.
That's good. So this is on the Unknown Show today, hanging out with Chandler and his experience at the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum here. Just a little more to come.
Yes. Praise Radio KPRD. Praise Radio KPRD. The Unknown Show is back. It's Dave and Chandler hanging out with you on this Saturday afternoon. A little cooler today, Dave.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. Kind of nice.
I'm liking it. Well, I guess it's been cooler, but...
Yeah, August, you don't really expect cooler type temps.
Yeah,
so
when I left, it was in the hundreds, and then when I came back from my trip to the Ark Encounter, it was in the 80s. So,
like, man.
Yeah, we prayed for cooler weather, we'll say. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, and we are talking about your trip to the Ark Encounter and the Creation Museum here, which sounds really cool. I mean, I'd really love to go sometime. I know a lot of our listeners would love to go, talk to a few folks about it, and man, they're really excited to go when the opportunity comes.
Yes, it was an amazing experience, and as we were talking about earlier, some of those, I guess you could call them seminars and speakers that you can go see at the Creation Museum, talking about different topics. I know some of the topics were, creation, dinosaurs was one of the topics, just all kinds of different things. And something, Dave, that you and I were talking about was creation. And I didn't really think this far into it until this experience at the Creation Museum, talking about how in Genesis... talking about, creation and everything. When God created the world to be perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a perfect world until sin entered the world.
Yeah, there was no pain, there was no death, there was no tears, there was none of that.
Yeah.
It was really beautiful, really happy, and really, fulfilling place.
Yeah, most likely what heaven's like.
Yeah.
I mean, just a perfect world is what it was created. And, there as you said, there was no death. So, I mean, people would legitimately live forever. But that didn't last too long when, sin came into the world.
Yeah. When Adam and Eve disobeyed God and made the choice, human nature made the choice of we know better than God, and disobeying God, we chose to bring in sin. We chose to bring in all the pain and suffering that we have. That was a choice that we made by disobeying God.
And, Dave, talking about that, the amazing part about that, though, is God knows that we messed up. God knows, Dave and Chandler done messed up.
Yeah.
But yet God still wants to have a relationship with Dave and Chandler.
Yeah. See, that blows my mind right there, right? Think that, okay, so God, Adam and Eve eat the apple or eat the fruit, right? And sin enters the world, and we are separated from God. And God loves us so much that he says, hey, I can't let this stand. I have to provide a path for people so that they can choose life, so that they can choose Christ and receive redemption, forgiveness, hope, and the freedom from sin.
Yeah.
And receive Christ. I love that because,
Yeah.
I mean, God laid it all out. As you read the Old Testament, it's very obvious, his plan, and that he's laying the foundations for his plan.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, here comes Jesus.
Yeah.
And Jesus, who lives the perfect life, and Jesus, being God, leaving heaven, coming down here to suffer with us, to go through the allergies, to go through the dust flying in his face, to go through all of that, right?
Yeah.
And then Jesus willingly dies on the cross for us,
Yeah.
shedding his blood for us. And as a result, there is now a way for us to God. There's a way for us to Christ, and we can be redeemed. We can be forgiven. And we have a path back to that heavenly perfect place. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, that perfect place that God originally created for us. But I mean, yeah, you just look at just space in general. You know, we another topic at the Creation Museum talking about the space and all the different universes and everything, and just our human minds can't fathom it. You know, how millions of light years and all this. There's all these things that God could be doing, but a relationship with us is what he wants.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
Yeah, hey, maybe you're there now, right? Maybe you're there and you're thinking, man, this sounds pretty good. Well, it says in the Bible in Romans 10:9, if you confess with your mouth, believe in your heart that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, then you'll be saved. So if you come to God and say, Lord, please forgive me my sins. Lord, be the Lord of my life. I put my faith in you, put my trust in you. God, redeem me. I believe in you. And it says, according to that verse, that you'll be saved.
Yep, you will be saved. You call on that one true name, Jesus, and you will be saved.
Yeah, put your faith in Jesus Christ today.
Yes, and if we can ever pray for you, let us know how. You can always go to our website, kprd.org. We're on Facebook, and also you can call the studio anytime you'd like at 855-889-5773.
That is the Unknown Show here for this weekend. Chandler, thanks so much for sharing your trip.
Yeah, no problem.
For the experiences you had, for the things you learned.
Yeah, it was an amazing experience, and I hope you and your family can experience it as well, Dave.
Maybe sometime. Yeah. Hey, that's the Unknown Show today on Praise Radio from Midwest Kansas, KPRD.